say I went for the eyes and either didn't get it or I missed, he put his hand up and blocked, I can immediately go to the groin, grab, twist, and pull, and then push him away and create some distance if I need to.
I trust him a lot.
Yep. Okay, in this video, we're going to continue with our self-defense series. A lot of times I'll get a call with either parents that have a daughter that's graduating high school, going to go off to college. They want to get them some type of self-defense training because they're going to be alone for the first time, or get a lot of calls from churches. They have a group going either overseas or to another country on mission trip. They want to give them just a basic self-defense skill set. A lot of times I'll initially talk to them and be like, hey, do you want this to be weapons-based? And a lot of times people just aren't comfortable with weapons or the amount of violence that comes with using a weapon. And so I try to give them just some realistic self-defense techniques and tactics that'll work in a variety of situations. I try to keep it as minimal as possible as far as the amount of techniques that I'm teaching them, and try to make each technique as simple as I possibly can. So the first technique that I generally start with in the series is just an eye gouge. We have to talk about what an actual eye gouge is, as opposed to, I'm not just going to reach out and poke Mike in the eye. Probably everybody out there has been poked in the eye at some point in their life. It hurts. You like close your eye and you cover it, but if you had to fight somebody in that moment, you could fight through that pain and still do damage to them. In order for them to actually stop trying to attack me, I have to do a lot of actual trauma to the eye. The way I teach that to begin with is I take as many fingers as I can and gouge into the eye socket. I try to get my thumb underneath the jawbone, just as a connection point, and I just start to scrape and pull across the eyes and get my fingers as deep in the eye socket as I can and start to just dig and tear. So that's automatically going to cause severe trauma to the eye, force him to try to rip this off his face, and it's going to give me an opportunity to run away. In all these situations, I'm just trying to teach them how to cause enough immediate trauma and damage to get away from the situation, and not necessarily to go in and continue attacking and try to finish the fight. So one of the things we go over too is mindset-wise, and just they're attacking you because they feel like they're stronger than you. If they thought that you were stronger than them and you were going to kick their ass, they probably wouldn't be attacking you to begin with. And they may be much larger and much stronger than you. So what you need to do is surprise them with the level that you attack them at initially. If they come up and you punch them, and now they're mad, now they know that your intention is to punch them and fight back. So I want my initial contact to cause enough trauma that they're either physically not able to attack me, or they realize that this is going to be a lot more trouble than it's worth. So when I go for the eye gouge, my hands come up in a defensive position, palms out. I just go straight into the eye and shove my fingers as deep as I can, and I just start to scoop and dig with my fingers. So I'm digging inside. You can do both hands, you can do one hand, however you want to do that.
All right, so this is obviously Jimmy's section, but I do enjoy a good eye gouge. So I wanted to add a couple things. One is the eye gouge is a technique that you teach so they understand the concept of it. So it has to be extremely violent. It also has to be in a surprise or an ambush setup, right? So I'm sure that Jimmy teaches it from different angles. That was one of the things you wanted to talk about. So, I mean, the thing is that you can do stuff. I'll go left-handed, even though I don't normally do this left-handed. But you can just grab the back of their head and pull them in here. You can do something like if that person's wrapped around, you're hugging their head and then you're eye gouging. So like you have the ability to do that, but you're just trying to create intent, violent intent, to where that person goes from nothing to an extreme amount of violence towards something that is going to permanently disfigure them or cause some sort of trauma, such as loss of sight. And so that's something that is a psychological barrier for that person. It is also something, and I'm sure this is one of the reasons why Jimmy teaches it, it's something that identifies them later on. right? So it's very, very difficult for you to come up with a decent reason why there are claw marks on your eye socket in such a violent way outside of, well, you know, a fight. So there's that. The other thing that I want to cover is the fact that people talk about, well, you can't practice eye gouges and you can't practice a lot of these techniques in combative sports. And the thing about combative sports is it allows you to have a resistant opponent and you can practice all sorts of techniques. And once again, nothing wrong with the instructors that say that, but that is not entirely true. The fact is that you can practice in a grappling match and in a striking environment the ability to go to areas where you are working towards, say, eye gouges, right? So if me and him are like sparring, what happens is I have the ability to do techniques that are not. So if I can tag someone, obviously we're not sparring full. I'm not like trying to break his face. But if you spar with somebody really, really well properly, there is a touch and play area to that, right? And so there's going to be times where I'm going to be inside and I can be like that. And I know that in a real scenario, I would be able to do this because that's my initial touch. So if I can go here, anytime I'm touching with my pad, I in turn just have to, like he said, claw towards that eye. If we're grappling and we're kind of working in, I have the ability to just check that, right? So I'm like, boom, I would hit that there, or I would be like that. And you technically don't even have to tell the person you're doing that. They just think you're doing head movement or head manipulation. You could be like knee on belly. You could be doing stuff like this, controlling them, just doing something like that. And in a real scenario, you'd be just driving that right through the ground. The idea is that I'm implementing techniques in a live practice. And obviously my skill level is high enough that I can actually do that without losing my balance. So you want to do it with somebody that's maybe a lower rank to you or somebody that is of equal skill, but they know what was going on, right? So like we're not trying to kill each other, but the thing is that my hand positioning, my feeling around, it works. So I'm now implementing something that in a real scenario, when I need to turn that on, I have thousands of reps, just like I would do in any other type of technique. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that because these types of subjects, people get really, really iffy and, they're like, these are woo-woo techniques. And it's like, it's only woo-woo because you don't have the skills to actually do them. So anytime you suck at something, you always talk bad about it. And so like the thing is that there are ways to actually build skill on things that are a little unorthodox. But at no point are these magical techniques. You'll notice that my skill on the ground with knee on belly was proper application of control. And in turn, then from a superior position, I'm doing an eye gouge. I'm not doing an eye gouge where he's doing a rear naked choke and I'm trying to get, so I'm not breaking any tenets or any laws, right? You think?
Yep. There's a lot of things that we talk about is from basically any position. If Mike came in and tried to attack, if I can reach his eyes either from here to gouge this way, my thumb, fingers, whatever I want to put in, or even if I reach in and grab inside the eye socket, I practice this on the forehead. You can practice this with the bridge of the nose, where I'm just going to grab and rip and turn. One of the techniques we teach off the ground for women is to reach around the back of the head, grab into the eye socket, grab the chin, and crank the chin and neck as hard as we can in order to get somebody off the top of you.
Yeah. So it's your imagination as an instructor. These are the areas where you can test out theories. Just because a previous instructor has told you that, oh, that's crap, should not be the end all for your progression. You need to figure out ways to do that. And as technology increases and your skill increases and your experience increases, you should dive back into areas that maybe you thought were just silly. Because at the time it was silly because your skill level and understanding's down here. But as you get better, you may be able to do some things that you're like, I can actually pull this off. A good example in grappling is they tell you to never turn your back. Right? And so the thing is that I learned very quickly as I became a black belt that there was a lot of people that turned their back that were causing problems for me. And it was because I didn't actually dive into that area because I had this bias towards the understanding that you should never do it. And because they explored that area, I was at a disadvantage. And so these are techniques that you may ultimately go, I still think it's woo woo. I don't like it, but it's not something that you just flat deny. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So we'll get into the next technique where he's hurting me severely.
Okay, so our second technique, I call these my big three. This is if you called me and said, hey, I'm leaving in an hour. I want to learn self-defense before I leave. What can you teach me? These are the three techniques I would cover, and these are the techniques that I cover just because they have the most broad usage, and they're going to be the most useful in a close quarter situation where you need to create some trauma and damage and get some distance and get out of the situation. So Mike covered it in his video. That's why me and Mike get along so well, because we think alike. But he covered the groin strike. Again, take an open hand, you're slapping to the groin, and as soon as I make contact with the heel of my palm, I'm going to grab, twist, and I'm going to pull. So, yeah, this can be from any situation. Say I went for the eyes and either didn't get it or I missed. He put his hand up and blocked. I can immediately go to the groin, grab, twist, and pull, and then push him away and create some distance if I need to.
I trust him a lot.
Yep. So again, this can be either he walked up to grab me or he grabbed me in a position where my arms are automatically down here. So I'm going to slap to the inside of the groin, grab, twist, pull, and then I can create some distance and run if I need to. The reason I like these two and then the third technique, there's a reason I do just these three techniques, because if I attack the groin, Mike's eyes come closer to me. So if I attack the groin and miss, his eyes come back down and they're close, so I can reach him easily. So if I reach for his eyes, his hips come forward, exposing the groin. So these work really well together in combination. So Mike covered all the ins and outs of the grab, twist, pull, why we teach it that way. Your initial, like for the guys out there, you get hit, there's the initial pain, then there's like the delay. We're just taking that whole delay out and causing actual trauma. You can fight through getting a full-on kick in the groin. Martial arts do it every day. So I see a lot of self-defense videos or talk to women. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to kick him in the nuts and he's going to fall down in front of me. Like it's just not reality, unfortunately.
By the way, I didn't cover all the ins and outs of glory stuff. So, anyways, whatever.
Okay, so the third technique in my big three is simply just, I'm going to step on the front of Mike's knee, just above the kneecap. And it's not a kick. I'm not going to kick him and retract my leg. This is just, I'm going to step, I'm going to drop all my body weight forward and try to drive his knee all the way to the ground. Whether his leg's straight and I'm able to dislocate his knee by driving forward that way, or if he just straightens his leg and I step and I'm able to dislocate his knee or just drive him all the way to the ground without causing permanent damage to his knee. Regardless, it's going to get him to step back and create some space for me. If his knee's turned to the side, so if he's turned at an angle here and I stomp, I can still get the same effect. The knee just folds to the inside rather than straight backwards. Again, this isn't some situation where I'm just going to kick somebody and just trying to move them. That's not going to be super effective for actual causing damage to the knee. One thing we teach is to turn the toes out slightly, about a 45-degree angle. And I'm just trying to wrap the arch of my foot around the top of Mike's thigh and just drive straight forward through this technique. So once I make contact, I'm driving all the way through. The reason I'm driving all the way through, one, I'm getting all my body weight into that technique. And it's not an awkward step where if I try to kick, a lot of times your body weight kind of leans back, especially if you don't practice kicking a lot. So I don't want my body weight leaning backwards. I want all my body weight going forward through the target. And also, if I miss or don't get the desired effect of him falling, I'm right here. All these other techniques still work. I can take a second step if I need to. All these techniques just tie in really well together. And my goal is to overwhelm somebody. If they're going to attack me, I'm immediately overwhelming them, stomping, kicking, doing whatever I have to do to stop them from attacking me and create some distance so I can get out of the situation.
Another thing that this works really well on is if we're up against the wall, right? So fact is that if I'm pinning him, his shoulders can come back. And if he can't stop any type of upper body attack, he can do the same thing. And then it's going to at least hyperextend or move my balance back. And the way that he's moving his foot out like that, it allows you to brace off of the wall and really get some power, at least to get the balance. So just checking the balance is one thing, and that will expose the upper body and allow you to defend. So these are all techniques that kind of integrate to each other and go into different scenarios. All right, so remember, this is all traditional self-defense. That first series, I did 4 basic attack angles. Second series, Jimmy did the big 3. Basically, you're either talking about soft tissue damage or some sort of structural damage. You'll notice that as people focus into career fields or occupations where it is life and death, and small mistakes will cause major issues, you don't have a lot of wiggle room or play. So a lot of the techniques are basically the exact same across the board. So to review, say we're here, front choke type techniques. The most effective ways to do that is to stab them in the throat, just like that you don't have to even do any of the arm break stuff. If he were to do a rear choke, me going here, transitioning, cutting this directly out, stabbing him in the armpit, that would work too. Let's see, front headlock type techniques right here. Oh my God, cut out their groin. That works really, really well. You know, rear headlock type techniques. I'm here transitioning. Oh, I have so many knives working directly in. So I'm sure those are the techniques that I covered and how to do them. So Self-Defense 101. Hope you guys enjoyed this series. We're going to add to it as time goes on. Please tell us your opinions and comments and what you want to see in the future. So thanks for watching.